Hi guys, it's Sasha and welcome to my channel, Sasha Gibbs, She's Type Wonderful, a channel aimed at increasing awareness about type 1 diabetes. To do that, I address topics such as diet, exercise, mental health issues, and so many other topics. So in my video today, I wanted to talk about what not to say to a type 1 diabetic. And these things I have gotten so many times over the years, and I realize that sometimes it's coming from a place of love, really. It's coming from a place of lack of knowledge. So I wanted to address it today. And for those of you who are new here, I wanted to say thank you for choosing this channel. And for those of you who are returning, thank you so much for coming back. Now, without further ado, let's get into it.
This time, this is my fight song. Take back my life song.
So we're talking about what not to say to the type 1 diabetic. And my number one thing that I get is, should you be eating that? And it doesn't really bother me because I know where it's coming from. It's coming from a place of, it's not coming from a place of spite or anything, but yes, I can eat that cake, I can eat that chocolate, I can eat that candy just like you can. The only difference is that for non-diabetics, the body secretes insulin from the pancreas, but with my body being a type 1 diabetic, my pancreas doesn't work, so it does not secrete insulin, but I wear an insulin pump and I use that pump to deliver insulin to me through an infusion. So yes, I can eat anything just like you. I can eat absolutely anything. I just need to know how much carbs I'm eating, and I administer my insulin through an infusion set. So yes, I can eat that. This one always gets me, and I'm going to say it in Patwa. Me never know said the bad type you have, or do you have the bad type? And the implication with that is that there is a good type of diabetes and there is no good or bad type of diabetes. And it comes from the information that is out there, and I address some of that. I addressed some of those issues in my video, which I think I did that last week, which focused on the differences between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. There is no good type of diabetes. There is no bad type of diabetes, because I know that people who have type 2 diabetes, they have issues managing their disease just the same as people with type 1 diabetes. So there is no good type of diabetes and there is no bad type of diabetes, okay? Another thing that I get said to me, and I think more than anything else, I think this one kind of irks me a little bit, and it's when people say to me, I could never inject myself with a needle. This one gets me more than any other, because I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in my early 20s. So for all my years, I was never injecting myself with a needle. I would never say it's something that I like to do. It's something that I have to do. It's not a choice. To not inject myself with insulin is basically choosing to die. And I know that for anyone, no matter how old you are, because things are always changing. So for example, as I said, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in my early 20s. Before that, I was eating and doing everything else as a non-diabetic, and I had to learn to manage my type 1 diabetes. So before that, I was never injecting myself with needles. And I had to learn how to do it, because not doing it was a decision to say, not doing it was basically death. So it's either you would have to inject yourself with insulin or you would die. To say, there's no other way to say it, is either I would inject myself with insulin or I would die. And if someone chooses death over life, it means that there is something else going on, and not to get bogged down in definitions or anything. It's either to live or die. And unless there is something going on psychiatrically with you, there is no one that would choose death over life. So yes, if you were diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, you would inject yourself with insulin, because if you're choosing life, that's the only way to do it. These days, I wear an insulin pump, so I don't have to give myself injections. I don't have to inject myself with insulin unless something goes wrong with the pump, and for whatever reason, I need to get the insulin. I need to get the insulin faster. I might do an insulin shot or something like that, but I usually get my insulin via an infusion set. But if you were diagnosed with type 1 diabetes today and you've never had to give yourself insulin via an insulin shot, you would have to. It's either that or you would die. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You would have to do it. So please don't say that. Don't say, I could never do that. How do you do it? If you had to, you would. Another thing that I get said to me is, did you get diabetes from eating sugar? No, I did not get diabetes from eating sugar. In fact, growing up, my mother, bless her heart, I had a very healthy, balanced diet. I had fruits, I had vegetables. My mother was the type of person who would slice beets. I love beets, are one of my favorite vegetables to this day. She would slice beets and have that in the refrigerator. You would just go in and just pop those. Beets, 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 beets. So I've always had a balanced diet. I'm not someone who gorged myself on sugar growing up. It was never something that I did. So, and I have type 1 diabetes, and for me, I don't think it's related to genetics, because I'm the only one in my family that I know who has type 1 diabetes. I have aunts with type 2 diabetes, but as far as I know, I'm the only person in my family who has type 1 diabetes. As I said, I have aunts. I have, I think, two aunts who have type 2 diabetes, but as far as I have cousins with type 2 diabetes, but as far as I know, I'm the only person who has type 1 diabetes. So I think the reason I developed type 1 diabetes, I would fall into the X factor. They don't know. Scientists say, oh, some environmental factors or something like that. So yes, it was not caused by me eating sugar. Now this one is so funny to me. Even my mom says this one to me. It's about cinnamon. Listen, cinnamon does not cure diabetes, okay? Cinnamon does not cure diabetes. Cinnamon does not cure type 1 diabetes. So as far as I know, there is not a cure. Even if I could go out and get a new pancreas, I wouldn't even, to be honest, because so far the research that I have done, that to do a pancreas transplant, it's such a dangerous operation. The risk of survival, or the chances of survival, is so low. You have to do another one in maybe like 10 years. So for now, I'm okay with my insulin pump, which has helped me tremendously so much in my diabetes management. So cinnamon does not cure diabetes. I can't even say it and hold a straight face. And another one that I get, and I got this as recent as last month. Someone said to me, you look so healthy. I could never think that you were a diabetic. And I know it's because of the information out there. Type 2 diabetes is often lumped in with type 1 diabetes, but they are two different diseases. And I addressed this in my video last week, the differences between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. You don't have to be overweight, you don't have to be obese to have type 1 diabetes. You don't. And I get that a lot. You look so skinny, you are so skinny, you look so healthy. I could never imagine that you have type 1 diabetes. There is nothing that I did to cause it. I didn't eat too much sugar. I didn't not exercise. There's nothing that I did lifestyle wise to have type 1 diabetes. It just happened to me, and it's something that I'm learning to manage on every day. I'm learning different things that I can do to have better control over my sugars and to have an overall greater diabetes management. So it's not linked to, I know even for type 2 diabetes, the misconception is out there that, and yes, I have to say that there are some people who have type 2 diabetes that it's their lifestyle that led to it. But for some people with type 2, they actually, there's nothing that they could do. It's based on their genetics, and they don't really have a choice with having the type 2 diabetes either. Yes, there are some who it's because of the diet, it's because of the lack of exercise, but there are some type 2s who really had no choice. They just had to get the diabetes based on genetic markers and things like that. There was really nothing that they could do. So again, size does not dictate whether you have type 1 diabetes. So I hope you got something from my video today. I'd really like to hear from you. What are some of the things that has been said to you that is just utterly crazy just because you have type 1 diabetes? I'd like to hear from you. Or if you just want to leave me a comment, go ahead and do that. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Turn the notification bell on so that as soon as I upload a video, you will be the first to know. Thank you so much for choosing this channel, and I will see you for the next one.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Stand